Let's do that thing.
Love it. I love
Thank
it.
you. Oh my God, I love it. That song gets me every time. Welcome to this episode of Leave Looking Up. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Neal Ludevig, and I'm joined by my incredible co-host and human and person of this world, Amer Jandali.
Hello, everybody. Thank you guys for coming back. You can't see me, but I'm holding up two fingers, sending you peace and love. And I'm so happy to be here with you again.
And we're joined by an incredible human that I'm fortunate to have known since, gosh, at least 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's so great to have this inspiring, incredibly empowering, activating writer, author, maker of cool things, everything person with us.
Yeah, just keep going.
Keep going.
Yes.
The modesty is overwhelming. Shelah Marie, thank you so much for joining us, Shelah.
No, thank you
Thank you,
both
Shelah.
for having me. Thank you both for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So excited. I can hear it in your voice. I love it.
I genuinely mean that. I don't sound yet, trust me. I'm
Good to know that
happy
sometimes
and-
you don't mean it.
What'd you say?
Sometimes you don't mean it, but we now have it on the record, recorded here today.
That this time is valid. Stamp.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I love it. And it's it's crazy to say that I've known you since 10, 12 years ago. And the context to which we knew each other was so different, right? I met you at was it TEDx Harlem?
Yeah.
Like kind of connected around.
Oh, that's right. It was TEDx Harlem.
Yeah.
And you do what Neal does. You're like the master connector and master of introductions. I feel like you are the best person at an introduction I've ever met. And I was telling my husband after our call the other day, I was like, I ain't gonna lie, bro. Like, I want to get to that level. Like, you're like, oh, hey, Shelah. Yeah, this is Shelah. She's doing a thing at Harlem Arts. Harlem Art, that's my festival that I'm doing. Also, this is James. He makes great smoothies. And if you know, and like by the end of it, you can like walk away and the two people will be like, so tell me about your smoothies. And like, it's just like, you're so good at connecting people. It's really a skill. I was just like, wow, this is so cool. I remember now. I forgot. I was thinking Harlem Arts Festival, but you're right. It was we were already knew each other for a while.
It literally just came about. I think we were just like, we were sitting at Corner Social and it was just a little chat here, started talking. And then you're like, oh, and because maybe I'm good at connecting, but you're good at like casually slipping in the idea of, oh yeah, I happen to be a theater spoken word artist that, I've got a whole bunch of material and I'm also a teacher at like this school and that. And it's like, oh yeah, like you didn't know that about me? Like, no big deal.
I don't know that about me.
That was the genesis. I mean, it was super. Yeah, I remember that, and then seeing you kind of perform in the park and light the space up, and knowing that it was like catching.
By the way, and I know you know this because I feel like you're going to be like, oh yeah, of course. Do you remember Dominique Fishback?
Yeah,
who was in my play. I was directing her as part of my play. I think she did it twice at Harlem Arts Festival. She's now in a series with Samuel Jackson on Apple TV. And she's everywhere. She's killing it. Oh my, I was like, I always knew she was going to be, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, I had to say that. That was one thing. Every time I see her, I'm like, I'm so proud of her. She did her thing. I was like, yes.
It makes my heart sing when I hear those kinds of things. And this is part of it when you like think, what is the journey that we've been on? Where have we come from? Where have we gone to? And think that like there was a little piece of that we can. I mean, the fact that you had her in your play and that you wrote this in word, that's cool.
So crazy. So New York is like that. I mean, that's one thing that I do miss about living in New York. It's so serendipitous, and you, and to me, there's like such a collapse in New York of like, not necessarily class, but of like, I live in Miami, and if you're a celebrity in Miami, like you can very much easily be separated from people. Like it's they're here, you're there, they're in the VIP. But in New York, it's a little bit. Every now and then, you're on the train, and you're like, "Yo, is that so and so?" Or you'll be
Yeah,
on the train and someone's singing opera, and they like could really perform opera professionally across the world in Europe, and they just
yeah. At
happen
the
to be out
Met,
of a job right now.
harmonic, whatever. It's insane. Yeah.
It's you're surrounded by talent everywhere, and you never know who's who. It's like
And
the
it
Grand
makes it
Theft
means
Auto
that the opportunities are endless, for
yeah.
connecting with people, and it's right there in front of you if you're ready. It's making your own luck. I think
Yep.
this is, this might be a good segue into into your world and getting a little bit of an origin story and how you came to be the Sheila that we know today, but understanding a little bit of that backstory. Uh, yeah, that
I
backstory. Yeah.
never know how to answer questions like this because even as you said, as you just quoted meeting me, and you said that I casually slipped in, oh, I perform and then I teach, and I feel that I've lived so many lives. I'm still living so many lives. I have so many lives I will live that I sometimes don't know where's the beginning. Like, what is the beginning, and what would I identify as the beginning of my journey? Is it when I was young and the only black person in my household, or is it okay when I moved to New York and I started out my artistic journey, or is it when I came to Miami and then I really started becoming more big with my company? And I actually don't know. I feel like I'm always being reborn. And so when I think about my origin story, I really sat, and that was one thing I was thinking. I was asking myself again, what is my origin story? And it's like, I don't know. It's always happening. It's
You
always,
also just said it, right? Like all of
yeah.
those things, they're different Sheilas, right? They're different
Yes.
iterations. There's a great resource kind of tool mindset that I was actually shown or told by my brother. This idea, this concept called the captain, the crew, and the saboteur. That we all have this vessel that we intrinsically are, and that we have a captain of our ship. And taking a moment to imagine, what does our captain look like, right? Is this inspired young empowered individual that's idealistic and ready to take on the world, or is it the seasoned captain that's seen 17 seasons at sea and knows all the tricks of the trades and met every pirate? Or is it not a person at all? Is it a tiger because that's your spirit animal? I think those are amazing things, but going deeper, it's what makes up your crew. What are all the iterations of yourself, right? It is that person that grew up in that household as the only black woman in your household. It's the Miami Sheila, it's New York Sheila, it's the artist Sheila, it's the influencer Sheila, it's the all of these personalities and ideas and identities make up this support system that you can always lean into. And also, it's cool to
Wow.
know that there's always maybe every crew has the possibility of having a mutiny. So who is our saboteur? What is that voice in ourselves that is trying to change the trajectory of this idealistic version of ourselves and maybe going a different direction? So
Mm.
I think this is part of that origin story. Is you have so many facets of yourself, and I think that's the cool thing I'm excited to learn more about them today, because I don't even know that much about your upbringing or your family, like where how what that family dynamic was like.
Yeah, I mean, this is really making me think of my husband and I. Like last year, we did couples therapy, and one of our exercises was to go off and we individually had to write down all the versions of ourselves that ever existed. From like anytime that you felt that there was a transition and you went from one version of yourself to another, then that's a new one, and list them and like give them a name. And I cannot tell you, that was the most profound exercise I've ever done. Not only for me, but learning that about him, but even myself sitting down and being like, wow, there's okay. Yeah, then some that changed. And then, all right. So, and I just feel like, I really feel like I'm at a place where I'm really happy and blessed to be it's almost as if they're all these versions of myself are a part of this orchestra, and they needed to go off, and each of them needed to have their like rehearsals, like the violin, the strings need to go together and harmonize with the strings, and the percussion, and they can't all harmonize together at the same time. They need to hear everybody has like different tones and ways of working. But then when they come together, I feel like previous points in my life I was fighting them. I don't want to be that one, I don't like that one, I reject that one, rah. And now I feel like I'm just now coming to a place where they can come together and harmonize, and that's extremely powerful for me. I mean, I feel like when I was growing up, people are like, high school is the best time. Your 20s, it's the best. College is the best. Oh my gosh, you're living. And I'm just like, I feel like the best is always yet to come for me. I'm
Frank
thankful.
Sinatra
But right
sang it
now, I
best.
feel like this is the best. This is the best because aside from everything outside, aside from, oh my gosh, whenever I talk about this conversation, I can't help but think about capitalism and late stage capitalism. Like, I'll put that to the side for now. But aside from that, the ability to have harmony within yourself absolutely changes the game. And I have never really had that before because, as I said, I grew up as the only Black person in my household. So I think that my early brain cemented this idea of one of these things is not like the other. You're not really going to fit into groups. You kind of don't know who you are. You're too much for this group, not enough for that group. And in many ways, I created that throughout my life. That's why I go in and out of so many circles. I was a teaching artist, but not formally a teacher because I was like, I don't want to be a teacher. I still want to have my freedom, you know? And then I was in acting, but I didn't really go into it and be it full time. Like I was pursuing it full time, but always had the backdrop of like, I need to teach, you know, just in case this thing doesn't work out. I don't know if I'm good, but I'm not that good, you know. Always kind of I'm dating a rapper, but I'm still like, I'm not a rapper's wife. I'm not a rapper's girlfriend. I'm kind of different. I'm a little weird. So always like being in those liminal spaces or in and out at the same time, I feel that has been my greatest strength, which I have not always been able to call on.
So you're that. First of all, that was a beautiful rip. That was an absolutely wonderful, exceptional stream of consciousness. Thank you. I'm so glad we were recording that. You caught me. I was literally looking. I was just like, you were completely just filling in. All of my neurons were just. So thank you for that. That was beautiful. And I'm hearing so this memory, this state of your being when in your childhood, being the only black woman in your family, and then that gave you a contextual relationship to the world, and then you're thinking from there it's like I'm hearing teacher, I'm hearing actress, I'm hearing these sort of different things. What was it that you were hoping to what was the intention behind all of that? Were you like, did you want to be in a place where you could make people feel like they belong? Was it like, what was that nugget, or what was born there from those early realizations? And also for
Listen,
our listeners, I'm wondering if you could also tell us like where you were raised and, you know, some more of those
for
tactical things.
For sure. Yes. Okay. So I was raised in South Florida. I live in South Florida now, so full circle. And my mother is Cuban but white racially, and her family is also white Cuban. And then my father's African American, and so they divorced when I was 3, and then my mother remarried a white man who was, I would say, typically like Southern American. And so that I grew up, even she married after that again, and he was still white American. So that's how I became the only Black person in my household. I mean, I didn't have the closest relationship with my dad because he was living in, like 4 hours away. And so even despite the fact that I have 7 brothers and sisters, we have 4 different mothers between us, I have a huge family. I didn't always know them. You know, I didn't really get to like, I know I love having a big family, but it was like not until maybe middle school when we all started to be able to see each other and everything. My dad moved back down where we were. But so up until maybe middle school, my day-to-day experience was I probably didn't really see many Black people, maybe at schools where I saw the most, but even then I was in the gifted and talented program, and maybe out of 50 kids there was 4 Black kids, and in my class there was 1, and it was me. And so, you know, I felt that and then at the same time I had my little sister who's blonde hair and blue eyes, and she's my best friend to this day. And so, you know, I remember when she was born, I just thought she was like a baby doll, you know. But now it's very different. The standard of beauty, at least like collectively, is changing, is being more open. But and then also in terms of, we have more representation of different races and dolls and TVs. But when I was younger, we had like Little Mermaid, we had Belle. Predominantly all the princesses and everything were white, fair skin. A lot of the dolls I was playing with were white. And so I had this like little beautiful white baby, and I was just like, oh, this is amazing. I'm like, this is like Toni Morrison, Bluest Eye. I was just like, what the hell did I do wrong? What the fuck? Sorry, can I curse in here?
You can do whatever you want.
You can do whatever you want.
Do whatever you want.
I was just like, when I was little, I was like, okay, so explain to me how the hell I got like this. Like, what? You know, I was having these like existential conversations with my mom, and she was just overworked, and she didn't have time to answer this shit, you know. But I was just like, okay, so wait, break it down. I know what happened. Okay, so I know what happened. Babies are all born white. That's what I thought. That was the standard, right? That's the norm. And then like there's like a tanning part in the hospital, and like you go and you like put your baby in the tanner, and like you take him out when they're ready, and you just forgot me in there, right? My mom was like washing dishes or something, like, oh, Sheila, yeah, okay. I know what happened. So you could take me to Home Depot, because we went there the other day and there's paint. So we can fix this. You can paint me and I'll be white like the rest of. And she was like, sure. I'll take you tomorrow. Like, you know, she was like, I don't know how the language. My mom didn't have the language to explain this to me. Like, you know, these were like really difficult conversations. And I was really young when I started really thinking through this 5, 6, 7, and 8. And so then when I realized, okay, you can't go to Home Depot and paint yourself, I was like, well, you have to pick a side. You have to pick a side. That's what the message I was getting. You know, race is not anything that's based on biology. It's not based on DNA. It's a social construct, and it's based on a binary that doesn't make sense for humans, but it is what it is. It's black or white, especially in America. I can't speak for other countries, but here, predominantly when you're talking about race, it breaks down to a binary that always falls apart when you put it under a microscope. But as a kid, I'm like, it's either black or white. I can't fit in with white kids. I was like, I don't want to. I want to be around people that look like me. Like, what's up? Like, I'm watching Family Matters, and I'm looking at like, wow, what would it be like to be around a family that looks like you? To be around women who know how to do your hair, or who know how to, like, you know, I'm ashy, putting on white people lotion, and it's not working. You know, it's just like very rudimentary things, but they have so much meaning. And so I just decided I was going to be black. Like, that was it. When I was like 8 years old. No. This was like going into middle school, maybe 6th grade. I was like, I'm tired of eating lunch in the bathroom and being scared that I'm going to be bullied and made fun of because I'm an Oreo. I'm hanging with white girls. You know what I'm saying? I cut off all my white girlfriends, and they were my homies. I love them. And I just told myself, you got to fucking choose. So I was like, all right, guys, I can't come over anymore. Sorry. Can't ride to school with you anymore. Mom, drop me off in the back so I can walk. I don't want anyone to know I have a white mom. Nobody's going to I'm not showing any pictures of my baby sister. And I'm just going to like fit in. And that's really what I did for maybe middle school. High school, it started to become more natural and organic. I found a real group of friends that are like authentically attracted to me, and not what I did in middle school, which was kind of like, oh, black, you're just black. I'm going to fit in now. Everything's going to be good. But that doesn't mean you align on shared experience or values or anything else other than a skin tone. And so that was really, I think that right there, that little story can encapsulate like a lot of the themes that stayed with me throughout my whole life. Is just the navigating race and rejecting the self and accepting the self. And so that's why I know why when I got older, it was so important to me to create a community. Curvy Curly Consciousness is my favorite thing to do. It is absolutely the world I want to create. It's the world that I want to live in, because it is to me the space that maybe the previous versions of Sheila would have really benefited from. And I know that even if you don't relate, you don't have to have the experience I had in terms of race. You don't have to be black. Everybody can understand the experience of feeling like, I might not fit in here. Like, I don't know where I fit in. I feel like the world is sending a certain message and it doesn't quite align with how I feel. Like, is there a place for me? Is there somewhere where I can go to find people who think like I do? And so that is why Curvy Curly Conscious is really, I feel like what would the word be? I feel like, what's the word for it rose to the top out of like all of these different experiences
Ooh,
I
like when
have.
it like sifts through, like emerges.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Can
Right?
emerges.
You get the visual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's like the pinnacle, like of everything.
Culmination.
Yeah.
Wait.
There you go. Boom.
There it is. Ooh, yeah. That word was the culmination of our collective desire to find that word. That's what that was.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly.
Shelah, can you tell us about Curly Curvy Consciousness? If we, for the people that don't know,
Yeah.
Yes,
what
thank
that
you. I'm
is.
sorry for not introducing it.
No,
Right.
that was beautiful rant number 2 that is heartfelt and lovely, and I'm sitting like, oh,
Yeah,
fantastic.
seriously.
And for those that are trying to want to really internalize what this is and understand who you are and what you're building, talk to us about Curly Curvy
Sure.
Conscious.
Yes, Curvy Curly Conscious is a company that creates safe spaces for women to heal and grow. We are most known for the Unruly Retreat, which is our retreat that is exclusively for Black women, or I should say this, it's exclusively for women who identify as Black. And then we do our retreat every year, but we also do other events for women who are interested in healing and growing, but not taking it too seriously. And I think that that's the best thing about the Curvy Curly Conscious community is that we understand that we meet you where you are. I think that what I learned along my journey through healing is there's a lot of communities for healing and for women, but some of them feel they feel restrictive, they feel extremely precious or sensitive, or that you have to, so there's no drinking in this community, and then I can't be or do I not listen to rap music? Okay, I like to twerk on the weekends. So our community is very much, we meet you where you are, with the understanding that everyone's healing, everyone is at a different level in their healing journey. And I'm not here to be some guru that is proclaimed to have it all together and better than you, and you should aspire to be me. No, that's not it. What Curvy Curly Conscious is the embodied experience in being accepted and being in non-judgmentalness and experiencing joy and working through your healing all at the same time. And I think it's really important. Just the energy when you walk into, I'm very humble on a lot of things. One thing I'm not humble about is my events. And the main reason I am is because I have really led every step of the way with developing my company with integrity. I could be selling out retreats like crazy right now. The demand is insane, but I am so serious about this. It's not about money. I'll make money. That's no problem. Money comes to me. Everything is going to come to me. That's fine. But the most important thing is when you walk into a Curvy Curly Conscious event, or when you come to the Unruly Retreat, you automatically get the feeling of like, oh, okay. Oh, it's cool here. I don't have to be a girl boss. Okay. I don't have to be CEO. Okay. I don't have to be earning $1 million to be cool. I don't have to be like, I meditate every day. It's really, we accept you like, hey, how are you? Just on a human level.
This energy is ever present in you, and it seems one of the identifying factors that really makes the Unruly Retreat special. Can you give us a taste of what that, for someone that is thinking, wow, that Unruly Retreat sounds amazing? What is that first experience? What is that first walk-in moment where collectively we're all together? Can you paint this picture and let us know what that first 2 minutes feel and sound like from your voice? This is we are your Unruly Retreat right now. Let's
all right. So you're ready to go to, let's say you're just coming into a Curvy Curly Conscious event, okay? Because unfortunately, I don't think either of you identify as a Black woman, so you wouldn't be able to come to the Unruly Retreat, but there are other events. So you're ready.
To be the case on Mondays.
I was like, I didn't want to assume, but So you would be okay. You're in your, your little fit. Okay, because I know I'm by myself. Okay, I'm gonna meet people. I wonder what the energy is gonna be like. And then you open the door, and someone from the Curvy Curly Conscious team comes up to you and says, "Hey, are you Neal? Are you Amer? Oh my God, it's so nice. I love, you know what? Bananas on a shirt? I've never seen that before. That's really cool. Okay, do you need help finding your seat? Would you like to do that on your own? Or, okay, great. This is your group that you're a part of. I know you identified before you got here that developing a community is something you really, so you guys can go over there. And then, you might mingle. And then I would come in and I would say my little spiel. And the first thing I would do is the first thing we're going to do is we have to get rid of judgment. Self-judgment is one of the, to me, one of the biggest blocks into being honest with yourself. And in order to do anything we're going to do beyond this point, we need radical honesty and the experience of not judging ourselves and others. So I used to be a teaching artist for many years. And one of my favorite things to do when I walked into a classroom, we had to be put into these dangerous minds classrooms with kids who do not want to hear theater stuff at all. And they would always complain. And what I would do is I would walk into the classroom and I would say, okay, I know you don't know me. I'm not your teacher. I know you don't want to do this. I'm going to give you 10 seconds of complaining. 10 seconds to complain, get it all out. And then from there on, if complaining shows up, we're going to say thank you, but no thank you. So we're going to do the same thing with judgment. All right. Any judgment that you have of yourself, anything that's you're nervous about, any judgment you have of the empowerment, women's empowerment, anything you have, you're gonna say it. We're 10 seconds. Everybody's gonna get loud. Everybody's gonna say anything that's standing in the way of them getting what they need today. And then we count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, empowerment events aren't really empowering. I can't believe what I'm doing here. I'm alone. Nobody's gonna like me. I'm not gonna make any friends. Oh my God, did I leave the microwave on? Okay, and now welcome to Curvy Curly Conscious.
Dang.
And then that's how we like lay the foundation. So what we notice is like that's just a small like activity, but it's that cosmology, like it's that way of seeing the world that's the foundation for all of the events. So we notice that women come alone a lot. We have actually a lot of mother and daughter combos, which I always find is so cool. And when they leave, you can't ever tell who came with who. On the final day, usually you see groups, but this is like, okay, you guys came together.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, especially for women, I think that especially women, we don't even realize the degree to which we judge ourselves so much, and we've been socialized to judge every aspect of ourselves. So when you're walking into a space full of women, body issues are going to show up. Especially if you're going to go on a retreat where there's pool, there's beach, and this and that. I'll tell you this. I'm going to say this. The first retreat we ever did, I collaborated with, and I didn't quite know what I was getting into, but this is the Aries in me. We go and then ask questions later. It's at a clothing optional resort. And the first night, so you can choose. You don't have to, you can choose. There's like a side you can go in the pool, and it's like, everybody's going to have regular swim stuff on or whatever. Or you can go to the other side, but you have to be nude. You have to be fully nude. Like, that's the only way. Everybody was on that side. The first night, it was almost 100 of us, and we were all over there. And I was like, how did I get here? But it was the coolest experience of my life. And I'm so happy that I was able to do it, because it was a little awkward for 5 minutes. But then after that, it was, you have a belly ring. Oh my goodness. Is that your C-section scar? That's so cool. Me too. I love your stretch marks. Look at mine. It was just beautiful. And I was like, this is the world I want for women. It was so cool. I wish I could do one of those again.
I mean, it doesn't sound like anything's stopping you. That's amazing.
I know. I know, right? And you can't have any phones. And so like no phones, no recording devices. And so like the level of like safety and our guards down, and just, this is, when we were leaving and we all were like the realization was coming back on the final day. Oh yeah, I'm going back to the world where everybody was wearing clothes.
To put my clothes on.
You need clothes. It's almost like the reverse, like you realizing, oh yeah, I wanted to say there's a scene. Oh, I bet one of you will know. there's a scene, it's a play or a film, where, you know, in movies when they have a sex scene, usually the sexual part is the undressing. So they start dressed and they start taking off clothes, and then they get into a sex scene. This was, they had decided not to have sex, and they were putting their clothes back on. And it was like they weren't having sex, but they'd realized what they were about to get into, and they like slowly started like putting their clothes back on, and like the shame started to set in a little bit. And I feel like that's what started happening. Like, we're going back into this world again that judges us so harshly on our bodies, or the even the judgment that we've let go of ourselves is starting to come back. And so I think that was so profound, and I'm glad that
Point
I
of
didn't notice
inflection
it.
or something. Where things like really everything turns around the emotions, the feelings, the vibe, the energy, because like, are we ready to go down this rabbit hole? And let in what might happen. You know,
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the only way to do it. You know, like how you were telling me you do Kapasana retreats, or and you do
I
silent
was
right?
just thinking about that. Yeah, I was telling Sheila about that I did this K-Pasana. We did a 12-day silent retreat that there was no phones, no internet, no connection, no reading, no writing. It is 8 hours of meditation a day, and K-Pasana does it in a very I think they do a very good job of taking a lot of Eastern philosophy and Westernizing or contemporizing in a way that seems a little bit more digestible, because I think the practice of meditating 8 hours a day, while very important and can provide a lot for everyone, it was definitely it's not achievable or attainable for everyone given responsibilities. They might have 3 jobs and 2 kids, or they might have a mobile home or whatever it might be, and that might be challenging. And so you really leave with this sense, and they give like, find a way to integrate this in your life in whatever way works for you, and that could be 30 minutes a day for 6 months, and if you need to re-up. But what you described just brought me back into that space of that reintegration after that.
That's
When
the
that
one. Yeah.
12 days was up and we said our first words on a microphone, and to 50 other people, what that felt like. But even I was just sitting believe it or not, I was sitting on a boat in Guatemala talking to someone that just did a 40-day one, a 40-day silent retreat, and they were talking about, I actually know someone that did it for 3 years. That's a whole other story, and how that impacted
Consecutively?
you consecutively. And that's like more monk monastery status. But I didn't realize how many social obligations we have that are weighted. I mean, it's an invisible weight that we have. This obligations, from nodding your head to smiling to someone. These are all
Oh my
things that
God.
they don't, and I think the way that I internalize, they don't take away your energy, but they redirect it. And these redirections of energies to thinking, how are they serving us as individuals? Can that energy, right, our energy, just like our time, is our most valuable assets, and it's ways to build and grow and challenge ourselves. And every time that we're putting our energy somewhere else, it's it's a possibility that that's the beauty of intention, that we can put that intention there and say, if I'm going to put my energy there, follow through it all the way. Be present in that moment. And if you're being present with someone else, it means you're not 100% present yourself. And that's cool. And that's a beautiful way to impact. But that moment made me start realizing just how much attention I'm giving to other places, and how important it is to give that attention to the things that we love and care about and that are important to us. Which, it sounds like this retreat, I mean, the space that you're creating is really something incredible, and taking risks, and giving a space where people can do that. And I was, even
Yeah.
as you were brushing, and I'll say this, but you kind of said like, I kind of give the spiel. I'm curious, what is that spiel? What is that word that sets that tone? That
Well,
makes it, yeah.
okay. Yeah, I will say, I'll say the spiel, and then I'll say something about disruption. The spiel is that I used to feel like, and this is so funny because this was when I was thinking about origin story. I almost gave this answer, which was, for many years I felt that I don't know if I'm like human. Like, I know that I'm human for sure, but I kind of feel like sometimes I was a part of like some other people, and they like dropped me off here by mistake. And I really am not supposed to be here. I thought for many years, I'm too sensitive for this earth. Like, I'm crying, everything hurts my feelings. I'm feeling people's emotions all the times. I didn't know what an empath was for many years. So I just thought, am I crazy? Like, I'm highly spiritual. I feel like I'm always seeing things that other people are not seeing. And then if I say it, people say that I'm not, and I feel crazy. And then I'm a Black woman. I'm not supposed to be this sensitive. You're supposed to be strong, but I don't fit in. And I always felt that I just am in the wrong world. And then I found my community, and I found other women who were saying, me too. I'm also sensitive, but I just don't show it. Or I've never even had the space to explore it. Like you said, Neal, when when you were describing the reintegration, it made me think of, oh, this is the only way to do it. There, for me, I can't conceptualize another way to do this type of deeper self work. You have to have a disruption, because especially for women who many times are the head of a household in a practical sense, dropping kids off, picking kids up, organizing dinner, budgeting, bills, sex with your husband. What does he need? Da da da, or wife, or whatever. And I think that for my community being taken completely out of that environment, and it's a total disruption that you don't even realize. I am a sensitive too. I feel like that also. I also feel like I'm maybe just going with the flow of things that I don't like. I haven't really thought about how much I don't like that. And I don't know if you can come to that realization without these types of disruptions. And we were very privileged to be able to have them. So for me, I really have been thinking lately, and I don't know if you all have any answers to this question, outside of the disruption fully from your day to day, how I feel like I have a responsibility to know this, how to offer up these disruptions in a day to day type of way, or in a way for somebody who can't go away, can't afford a retreat, can't leave their family. And I don't know the answer yet. I think I'm still thinking about that a lot. Especially during the pandemic, I thought about that a lot, because we had to cancel our retreat. And the pandemic itself, aside from being a completely traumatic event in so many different ways for so many different people, in terms of loss of life, loss of security, safety, finances, I felt that it was such a disruption. And also in a positive way, I can only speak for myself, in the sense that I felt that I was on a treadmill, and then pandemic hit, and I got off the treadmill, and I was like, oh my God, I'm fucking tired. I'm exhausted. I don't like the way I'm living. I don't like working this hard. I don't really like it. And I think at the time it made me think about the historically, Black bodies in the United States have been defined around their labor, and even in worthiness around their labor. If you could produce a certain amount of, cotton, then you would be a better slave at that time. And then even after, if you worked, I just read an article, was from 1930s. I can't remember the exact period, but it was all about Black women are lazy. We need to put them to work, and implementing actual laws that would put Black women in prison, or fine them for not working because they're so lazy. And so I just think about the lineage of Black women's bodies and our, labor, taking care of our own family, breastfeeding other people's children, and then coming home and having to take care of your children, and how much we identify our worthiness, our value, our self-identity, about how much we can do, how much we can work. And then not only for Black women, everybody, especially in America, we live in fucking Wolf of Wall Street, where you are worthy to pay some what you can produce. What if you produced? And even me, I'm in the women's empowerment space, and I used to be like, yeah, girl boss. That's what I want to be. I want to be a girl boss. My company made this much. I did this much, did it. And then I thought to myself, like, we're kind of just recreating the same thing, but in pink.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And is it healthy? Is it healthy? Like, for us to be so much linked to, and I think the pandemic, a lot of people. Go ahead, Neal. Go ahead.
Well, it's sort of an answer to your question, also what you're talking about, because I think there's an element of society that is is creating platforms and putting these quote unquote producers, these people that are embodying that, producing Wolf of Wall Street, epitomizing, idolizing, celebrating that ideal, and saying this is what it is to achieve this is the role model for success. And the first place my mind went to when it's talking like, what do you do when you can't go away, when you can't have that disruption? There's one of my favorite books, but there's a lot of different versions of it. The original was kind of Think and Grow Rich. You Are a Badass is kind of a very popular modernization of it, and it's got lots of
I
cool
love
tools.
that book.
But there's one awesome tool which has been sort of a guiding mantra in where do you go when you have nowhere to go, um, is your mind. Your mind is this infinite abyss, and there's this cool tool that they have called the Invisible Council. It's a space that the 4, 5, 10, however many people alive or dead that you idolize, that you embody, that if you have questions about what to do and how to do it, take 30 minutes on your Monday morning and have an invisible council meeting. Let them sit down, right? For me,
That is
Dave
so
Chappelle, Donald
cool.
Glover, Barack Obama, Robin Wood, whoever it might be, and you sit down and you have this meeting, and what you will learn about yourself just through the perspectives of the other people that are coming there, that are sitting down at your little council meeting. The guy that wrote the book, he said, Abraham Lincoln was one of his folks. Unbelievably, no matter when they started, Abraham Lincoln was always late in his mind. And he said, I reflected on this, and it's an amazing thing to think that he held Abraham Lincoln in such prestige that Abraham Lincoln had more important things to do, and he was doing his other stuff around the country, doing,
funny.
but it's amazing just shaping that perspective. But I think, in having a little bit of a disruption, having that community that can challenge you and that can push you, that's a little bit part of it. And actually, the one other thing that came to my head, which is also a shout out to one of my favorite things that's been done in that question of what do you do when you have nowhere to go. There was actually a mutual friend of Amer and I's that was in the Center of Social Innovation. This woman, Francine, literally was in her car, had that feeling, I have nowhere to go, didn't have a safe space in her home, didn't have a safe space at her work, and kind of just felt very surrounded, and started a company called Buddha Booth, which is literally a portable quiet spaces that it's like you can construct. They bring to festivals and offices and rooms and houses. It's literally a tiny, you can deconstruct it and bring it into the space wherever you want. But to take a moment, it's like literally you just have some little grapes that come, and to take a quiet moment, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And the value when I got introduced to taking a moment for myself. I mean, this is kind of the basis of transcendental meditation. Just sit.
Are you trained in TM?
I got a good friend of mine, Justin. He runs House of Yes. He's a very big advocate for it. He got me to try it, and it's totally changed the game. And I think and this goes back to the role models. One, I was suggested by him and a few other close friends. It's like, okay, cool, but like, I'm good. I think there's an ideal of masculinity that it's like, I don't need these kinds of tools and resources, and taking the moment to myself. I was raised in a household with the idea of having, bottling your emotions and pulling yourself up by the bootstraps was completely internalized. And I'm just now in a space where that's shifting and changing. But it took that suggestion in combination with looking at a few of my role models and hearing that they did that too, right? And that they were very powerful advocates for it. Jerry Seinfeld, I'm a huge fan, not just because I love the show and grew up with it, but also like the amount of work and stuff that when you kind of look at some of the behind the scenes, what he and Larry David and, a lot of, thinking that comedy is really such a powerful medium for raising controversial conversations and bringing both sides of the table. Like, he looks at it as the highest form of art, and it's such a beautiful thing. And the amount of attention and detail that he puts towards a joke is awesome. And for him, I see his attention to detail, and that it was an important tool for him and for Oprah Winfrey and for all these other folks that like their value sets I'm inspired by. And that's what encouraged me to do it. And that's a little bit of, what the power of role models. And you're right, there's a serious decolonization that needs to happen both in our bodies for what work is. And I think
Yeah.
a millennial stance of you are defined by the work that you do. And
Yes.
it's my,
Yes.
that's, it's a very difficult thing to get away from that. It
Mhm.
took me traveling around the world every chance that I get to meet other cultures and communities and spaces that say,
Right. Right.
actually, you got to stop at 5 o'clock. And actually, like, you're saying you don't have 2 months of vacation? Like, no, because you actually have an identity outside of your work. And how many other people, it's I'm in the digital slow mad community, as in terms of like taking a space and learning about the communities and the cultures that we're around, and how many nomads are taking a beat and taking a moment and saying, this is the I think the Times define this time as the YOLO economy. This is you only get one chance, unless you believe in reincarnation stuff, which all for. But yeah, you know.
Yeah. That what you said about the invisible council is so interesting, because one of the meditations that we always do at any event, I do it at any event. It's my favorite meditation. It's based on. Have you ever heard of quantum jumping? Um,
No.
oh my gosh, it's so funny. I don't know why. I think you're always gonna know what I'm saying. Like Neil just be
Everyone
going,
jumps,
this,
that's
this.
it's gotta jump. No.
I know, right? Okay, so it's based on. I based it off of that. Quantum jumping is the principle, like that you have. There could be potentially an unlimited version of you. Like we don't know. We don't know. We all we know is there's a bunch of black matter out there, and we can't quantify it or study it. We don't know. We don't even know all the planets. They haven't been discovered. So like just go with it. Why not? There could be unlimited parallel universes and unlimited parallel versions of you. And so if you're having an issue here, all you have to do is just go meet the other version of you who's figured it out and see what they did and ask them what they did. Spend some time, watch what they're eating, watch what they're doing. And it's very similar to that. But I go spend, when you said where do you go and you have nowhere to go, and it's so true. When I started my journey and I was living in New York, and that I couldn't afford to do any of that. I went to free yoga classes, but I was meditating every day. I just was like, I don't want to be here. I'm going. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. At that time, I was just getting out of an abusive relationship, and I was like, I can't even imagine a guy like we having a healthy dynamic. Like I'm worthless. I'm unlovable. Like when you're out of a breakup, you feel terrible. And so I was going there like, let me just go visit the version of myself who, well, what do I want? I actually do want to be married. I think I've been telling myself this whole time I don't want to be married because I want to be like a feminist. I'm an independent woman at the time. Like I'm independent. I don't need anything. I'm gonna just live like on a commune, which I actually still feel like I should live on a commune. But I really feel like right, especially with my female friends. I'm like who are all mothering. I'm like we need to be doing this as a village, y'all. Like come on,
A
you
nudist
cook.
commune, I think where it's gonna go.
I knew this. Hello, you get me? You get me? My husband will get me like, yo, I'm like, listen, trust me when you get there. But I'm like, wait, what was I saying?
You were talking
No, I forgot.
about quantum leaping and connecting with the different versions of yourself, and when you were
Oh,
younger,
that's right.
the
Yes.
method
So I
version
was
of
like,
yourself.
okay, I'm gonna go meet married Sheila, and I'm gonna go see what she's doing. And so this is at the time when I had no marriage prospects in sight at all. Okay, and I really just realized that I was like, I need to go to therapy, but I have no money for therapy right now. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna go and see what I started reading. Like you said, I was devouring books at the time, and so I went into this meditation, quantum leaping. You basically you see a door, and then you open the door, and on the other side of the door will be yourself. You have to identify whatever that self is. Okay, it's myself who's married. And first is I just observed and I just saw, and I have this journal entry to this day, and I wrote down that I noticed that they were getting up like on their own accord. It wasn't like an alarm clock. So that told me I think they work for themselves. It's like me and a guy, And I was like, okay. Then when I saw him, he was darker skinned. I was like, yes. And he had like these locks. I was like, oh, he is so fine. He had locks and they were like down his back. And I was like, okay, I could tell that he could be an athlete, but he's not an athlete. Like he's very athletically skilled, but that's not what he does. I couldn't figure out what he does. But then I saw that I was making breakfast and it was just a slow like getting out of the house. So I was like, we're not rushed for anything, but the house looked really nice, so we might be doing okay. And I wrote all those things down. And I like years later when I met Ace, I had to read him the journal entry because I was like, how many things to this day? Literally, that's what we do now. I have an alarm, but we get up slow. We work for ourselves. We are taken care of for. We don't have to like go to a job every day. I'm so blessed and thankful and privileged.
Damn.
And then he's muscular. He could be an athlete. He used to play football, but he doesn't. He has locks. I was like, this is crazy. So I swear by that. That's also the first time I saw Curvy Curly Conscious. I was thinking to myself, I just moved back to Miami. Now I'm with Ace. I'm living with him. Like, I need something for myself. I just want to be my own identity. Okay, acting is not, I'm auditioning in Miami. It's just not giving, it's definitely not the same thing at all. I got to find something to do. And I went in and I did a quantum jump to like, Sheila's had her career figured out. And she was in this white venue and she was in front of a crowd and the venue looked identical to the venue that we did our first ever event at. And so I do them all the time too, like all the time, problem solving all the time. I can't figure this out. And so I love that you said that about the invisible counsel, and I want to offer that up to anyone who it's a great tactic, even if it's just placebo, even if it's just you allowing yourself to know something that you know already, or if it's you're really traveling, who knows. I think it's all whatever works for you. But I love this idea of, okay, so you might not be able to figure this out. You might not have those resources, but there's a version of you who does. So it takes the pressure off of you. And, I can't do that thing. I don't. Okay, well, you can figure it out. And to me, it's fun. I'm a daydreamer for life. So I love going to see.
Shelah, this is the coolest thing ever. And for listeners, so I've had myself muted because I'm outside for our listeners, and there's some wind and stuff, but the whole time it's like, oh my god, oh no, oh my god, and then you can't see me, but I'm just like waving my hands all over the place because I love everything you're saying right now. There's something I'm hearing right now about permission to see. I'm hearing a relationship with your future self. I'm hearing seeing, especially in moments of stress or especially in moments of confusion, taking a step back and allowing yourself permission to see what is your future self doing? What do they feel like? Who are they with? What kind of conversations are they having? How are they making other people feel? And what does that environment look like? And if you give yourself permission for your mind's eye to see that, and then you articulate it in a certain way, right? This is what I'm hearing. You wrote it down. And you can mood board it, perhaps, right? Might be another tactic, right? Create a vision board for yourself, right? Practice it, prototype it, experiment, and then watch as that snowball turns into a snowman. And in your case, it turns into the snowman that you wake up next to every day. And that's like just like, just like, bless you. Thank you so much for sharing that experience with us. I'm just like, want to reflect that for you. Thank you.
Thank you for affirming me, and I think that it's really nice and comforting too. I think that this relates to I'm writing my second book this year. Will finish at the end of the year, and so it makes me reflect on. There was a part where I had to identify. The editor asked me like, "Who are you writing this book for?" And I kept thinking, my community. I'm writing it for a woman who had a similar experience to me, and all of those answers. And I kept going into my meditation and being like, why does it feel like it's there, but it's not quite there? And the other day I was like, all right. Shelah, who wrote the book already. And Shelah, who has, it's amazing, New York Times bestseller, blah, blah. Okay, who is it? And I saw her and she looked like almost like a superhero. And it was like very clear to me. I was like, oh, okay. I'm writing the book for myself.
Wow.
And a part of me didn't want to name that because I felt that that's egocentric. That's, so who gives a fuck if you're writing a book for yourself? Yay. You know, like I'm, oh my gosh, am I narcissistic? Or you know, there's so many narcissistic traits. That's such a buzzword now. No, no, no. It has to be altruistic. It has to be selfless. It has to be for my community. And then what I realized is that, like, this whole time it's been me, like, in a certain sense of going back during those times when I tell women sometimes, like, if you loved and lost, the good news is all that love came from you. All that you were giving to somebody, even if they didn't see it, it still was generated by you. And so when I was in my darkest moments and I was in those meditations, I was looking for comfort, and I was spending time with me. Really, it was me this whole time. And so, not me in the negative sense of ego, because I know sometimes ego can be interpreted in a negative way, but for people pleasers, anonymous, okay, that's me, I'm the captain. If you have a history of people pleasing, what you find is that you can't even be egocentric because you don't even know who you are. Your whole identity has been usurped by you being sensitive to the needs and the thoughts and the opinions of others around you. And then they've been molded into your identity, that, to the point where if you don't ever sit down and get to know who you are, if you don't ever sit down and let yourself be the front, at the seat of the table, like the front or the captain of that ship, you can't then adjust. Then you can't even manage. Then you can't even shift because you never even, I mean, it's like you have, the first step is being like, okay, what part is me and what part is not me? And how did I get here and why? And what parts do I want? And what do I want to do now? And so I think that going back to spend time with myself felt so comforting, even just if it gave me the indication that I could do it, that I knew. And so now, like, coming here to when I'm writing my book, I very much was like, okay, that's it. I'm writing the book for those past versions of Shelah, because at any point during my journey, if she would have read this book, it would have helped her in some way. And I also am writing it for the future version of me that can only be born if I write the book. I have to slay all those dragons. I have to face
Bless.
all them fears, and I have to really allow myself to know myself, or I'll never be her. End of story.
This
Can you just say
vision that I have. Go go go.
just that line, just that last line? I'm writing this for the future version of me that can only be born by doing this. Is that, did I hear you correctly? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Go ahead, Neal.
I love you.
I'm
I
this
really thought it.
it's this beautiful picture that you paint in my head is this future, like I you've painted it. I see this version, this future version of yourself and you meeting it. And on the other side, there's this side of me that wants to ask, because I've heard you talk about this, you know, when we talked before, this surreal ideal, this surreal notion of the world that you've manifested for yourself. Because right now, the very fact that you have a journal entry from 10 years ago that literally embodies exactly what you're living right now, you have now met your future self. You've caught up. This is the moment of the what is it, the decathlon, the race when you're doing the handoff to the next one, right? Like when you're passing the baton, like what is this? You know, talk about this life that you've manifested and created. You know, you're talking. You know, we alluded to this in the beginning. You're an author, you're a creator, you're an actress, you're a human, you're an influencer. You're talk to like about how that's sitting inside of you now that you've met and manifested this space, because I think there's, you know, this the last time we spoke, you mentioned a powerful TED talk that kind of talked about like this ideal of the best is behind us, and what do you do when you feel like you've achieved that space, and you've achieved so much. So I'm just curious, talk to us about this experience that's currently within, as you wake up every day and get up slowly and see the, you know, the love that you've that you've manifested in your life, and you have all these options available in front of you. What's in your headspace, good, bad, and otherwise?
Hmm. Wow, I had so many thoughts just then. They were all swirling. um, I think that sometimes I have to make sure to remind myself that I met her because I'm always thinking about two future versions. So then I realized, okay, so you're never present. Remind yourself that you have caught up with her in a certain way, and fighting through a lot of imposter syndrome of like, well, why do people care what I have to say? Like, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a PhD. I'm that, like, telling myself all of these reasons why I'm not qualified, and so I have to remind myself to, like, imposter syndrome. I feel like shows up for a lot of us now, especially we have socials, everything. We're so hyper visual, so hyper not visual, that's not the word I meant, hyper visible is the word I meant,
Mm.
that we can see into people's lives in a way that I don't think humans have ever done to this scale. And what does that mean for us? But for me, I have to remind myself that it's okay just to be. I saw a TikTok the other day that said something like, for people who grew up in chaos, peace feels like boredom sometimes. And I have to remind myself that, there are times where I feel like, oh, more, I should be doing more things and more and more and more, and remind myself like what a gift it is to just feel that I'm not on high alert right now. Like, remind my nervous system that we're not at war, and it's okay to be. You'll notice even from my response time and emails and the amount of jobs that I take, I give myself space now that I have never given myself the permission to do, because I actually want to live. I actually, even if it, and for me, that doesn't mean going on a big trip. It just means like, oh, you know what? I haven't played Sims in 10 years. I fucking love The Sims. I'm going to play Sims today. That's it. I'm going to read a book today, whatever. Not everything has to be geared towards what am I doing and creating. Finding that time to just be. And it sounds like a kind of cliche, but it really is true for me. And I have to remind my husband of that all of the time, because he has a history of being really much in the rap industry and moving at a like neck breaking pace, nonstop, go 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 go, and this and this. And so even during the pandemic, I could see it in his body. His body was like, so what is happening now? I'm sitting here, like, is things going to be okay? And so reminding ourselves that we can be allowed to be still in this world can be very difficult, but really profound. That's what I have to remind myself. It's okay to like be. You don't always have to be doing and fixing and da da da.
Non-doing.
Right. Right. Because I heard that before too, because we're a human being, not a human doing.
Mm. Can you say that one more time?
Because we're a human being, not a human doing. It's okay to be. I don't know where I heard. I think TikTok, man. They got all the gems on there. I think that's where I heard it.
Yeah. It's interesting because I'm not on TikTok as much as I should be. Maybe.
No, why should you be?
Well, this is a. I think I'm curious on like what's like a little bit of your recommendation. You're in a world, especially kind of in the influencing space, where it's like there's so much noise. There's so much
Oh
things,
my
so many
gosh.
things coming at you. How do you sift through it and find either the gem that resonates, that doesn't leave you scrolling for more, but maybe empowers and inspires you to the next thing, or gives you the credence and the allows you to take a moment for yourself? How are you sifting through? What are the channels? What are the things that you might recommend for that? This could even be just on a practical space of what are your go-to
Okay.
resources that keeps
I
you ticking?
don't try to keep up. I don't. I don't try to follow hype. Don't believe the hype and don't follow the hype. It will have you exhausted. If I'm an influencer in the social media space and I'm looking right now, I'm on my primary platform is Instagram. There's a lot of people on the inside saying that, oh, Facebook and Instagram are on there. Oh, there's another next is TikTok or Twitch, or this got to get your community here. And if you follow every new trend, you will be exhausted. I'd make TikTok sometime, but I'm not trying to be a TikTok creator. Like, for what? Unless, what's the end goal? So for me, I feel like don't if you can really get caught up if you just try to follow the hype. And when I say hype, I mean like trends, new things. It's okay to be in trends, but don't feel that you have to hop on everything, right? Even if that's in wellness, all these new diets or cleanses or this or that, or there's always going to be a next thing. There's always going to be a new thing. So for me, I allow my, again, in the being, I'm an Aries, so we want to be the first. We want to follow everything. That's my impulse. So I have to just be sometimes and remind myself it's okay. It's okay not to be in everything. It's okay not to follow the hype and be in every hype, and just be really consistent and good at serving the community that's showing up for you. If you really show up for your community, it doesn't matter the platform. They will always find you and they will always show up for you.
I have a question, and it's along this train of thought here, and it's about who you look up to. And before I fully release that question, I also want to offer another reflection, another acknowledgement, something else that I'm seeing, that I'm hearing here. Neal and I talk often about. There's a book that I love. It's my most gifted book. It's called The Anatomy of the Spirit. And there's a part in that book where it talks about the 4 stages of personal power. And one of these words came up. The 2 stages are revolution and involution. The 3rd stage is narcissism. Then the 4th is evolution. So the first 2, in short, are
Wow.
are stages where you kind of start realizing that you might be thinking differently than people around you. Maybe you realize that you're queer. Maybe you realize that you're actually don't want to be living in this city anymore. Or maybe you might realize, oh my gosh, what's going on with single-use plastics? Something about that is different, right? And then in the 3rd stage, this narcissistic stage, which you said earlier, you said that there could be a lot of different interpretations to that word. In this case, the narcissistic phase is one where you're just held, where you're pretty firm on your new values. You do your best to carry your reusable water bottle everywhere. You do your best to, you feel proud and you want to dress a certain way, or etc. There's just kind of this like phase where you're like, yes, this is who I am right now. And if what I remember paraphrasing from the book is, if the person remains steadfast throughout this process, they shift into the 4th stage, which is evolution. And they shift from being a person to a persona. And one that can create a field that galvanizes inspiration. And I want to offer, and I'm saying this because I want to offer that reflection, that what I'm hearing from you is, as a girl, you were realizing all of these ways in which the world made you feel like you didn't belong. And then somewhere along the line, you did find your belonging. And then further down the line, that cuppeth runneth over. That micro became a reflection of the macro, and what you created for yourself, your own sense of belonging, you were then able to generate that field and create that for others. That's what I've been hearing throughout this whole 50 minutes that we've been talking. And I have to recognize that, and that's beautiful. I'm so happy you're here with us to share all these stories.
That's an applause right there.
And as we're hearing from you, and as we're coloring in these wonderful lines of your story, who do you look up to now? Who is creating that sense of belonging for others? Who creates and nurtures that, in addition to your future self? Who creates that sense of belonging for you? Authors, poets, creatives, anyone, family members, and who do you look up to?
Wow. Ooh, that is such a good question. I mean, in like artistically, I look up to someone like Regina King, because yes, Regina King. Sometimes like I didn't say Regina Hall. No, Regina King, because of the level of integrity that I feel leads every decision she makes. She's been acting since she was young in like 227, and then since she was a child. And so it's like very rare to me that I see someone who's been in the major film industry and TV industry since they were a child be so grounded and be led by so much integrity in the projects that she chooses and produces and writes. And so I look up to her. And I really, really look up to bold people who are bold. Like, I honestly look up to the Generation Z. I think that's why I like TikTok so much, because they are, to me, so bold and so intelligent and have such a grasp on how to talk about race and gender that my generation is still like just learning about. And they are so bold with how they speak openly and accept who they are and hold themselves accountable. And so and then also in like they, from, maybe it's just the ones that I have seen, but I could be totally generalizing and wrong. But I feel that Generation Z also has a kindness that I really think is refreshing. Humans can be really harsh, and I really admire kind people because it is very hard. It takes a lot of strength and courage to be kind in our world. And so, but not kindness like I'm going to let you walk over me, because we talked about people pleasing. Not that. Not like, oh, you can smack me and then, oh, that's okay. No, 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 no. But they have a very nice blend of kindness and also play with me if you want to. Go ahead, play with me if you want to. Say something to me if you want to. I got this camera right here, and I'll, we'll put you on TikTok, and like, like they don't play. They also have their boundaries, and so I respect that a lot. I respect the combination of boldness and kindness.
I love that you share that. It gives me it gives me a different lens to look into that. And I also think it segues really well into this idea of who are we giving thanks to, who are we recognizing in our lives, both that we know and that we don't know, that inspire us. So I'm curious, you kind of said a little bit who, maybe some of the peoples in the community, the people in the community that are inspiring you and that feel, feel like wonderful spaces for creation. I'm curious, you personally, is there anyone that you have, because we give thanks, and I think you've recognized a lot of people that inspire you already. Is there anyone that you haven't given thanks to already that you would want to do right now?
I wish I could find Miss Miles. Miss Miles was my eighth grade. This was eighth grade. Eighth grade AP English teacher. I think I'm remembering this all correctly. And on the first day of school, she gave the whole class roses. Everybody had like an individual rose. And we were just like, what are we doing? This is a rose. And she said, now look at your rose and look at everybody else's rose, right? Everyone has a different rose. Some are closed, some are more open than others, some are different sizes. Your journey in this class this year is going to be yours. Don't compare yourself to the people around you, just because. And this was really comforting for me, because even I'm writing a book now, but grammar has not always been my strong suit. In writing, I'm more of like a speaker. And so that was so comforting to me. Like, she just let us know at the beginning of the year she set the tone for how we were going to move through the year. And she always made learning so fun. She really built the foundation for why I love film to this day. She then showed us, what was it, Pleasantville? Is that the name of the movie? But it had a rose in the film, and it was like that black and white film, and there was starting to be color at the end, and it was commenting and all these. She was the first teacher I've ever had that introduced us to film analysis and how that could translate to writing. And she did everything in such a fun and creative way. She held us to very high standards, but if you fell behind, she always met you where you were. And I never forget that day with the roses. I've tried to find her before, and I hope that this finds her, because Miss Miles deserves all her
Miles,
roses as well.
Thank you. If you are listening to this, please reach out to us. Thank you, Miss Miles.
Thank you, Miss Miles.
She was the best.
What do you want our listeners, your listeners, to do after first thing they do? This podcast just finished right now. What's the first thing you want? Where do you want them? Where do you want their energy to go to? What would be? Yeah.
Not like a call to action. You're saying like a human thing.
Yeah.
Because I have a human answer. Okay.
A human.
Yes,
answer.
I mean, this is brilliant. I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I've done a few podcasts. I'm very selective about podcasts that I do, but You two are an incredible duo here, and I just feel that this episode, and I'm sure along with all the other episodes you'll hear from them, are just full of so many gems that could make your life better. So I would say, as soon as this ends, sit for a second in silence before like you move on to the next activity, even if it's actually 60 seconds, and just sit and ask yourself if there's anything that you want to take. Anything, a lot of things are going to fly by, but is there anything that you want to take with you? It's like, there any one thing that you can take, any gem that you can take to implement into your daily life? Because there's so many, I'm sure, here.
That there are. You're filled with so much wisdom. I'm going to have to do that after this is over.
And I really want to say thank you, because Neal is so persistent, and I really love that about you, because I don't do podcasts. I don't, to me, I'm like, I'm not selling anything right now. You know what I mean? Like, they're for what? And, it takes a lot to find out like the tone of a podcast and everything. And also, I just want to say that it's a very big, it's a part of the like social sphere right now, that there's a lot of men doing podcasts that are really all around downing women and, criticizing women, and especially Black men. And like, I just think, I don't even want to say that because I love them, but I feel that like this is so refreshing. I've seen so many videos lately of men with mics, and it's just no, that I'm like, you guys are so kind and so human, and so just it's just, I feel like I got some type of healing on some aspect of my life just being here, from being in men that are supportive, and men that are uplifting women, and giving us the mic or sharing. I think it's really beautiful, and you should definitely just be honored for that.
Oh my gosh!
I'm honored by your presence. Oh my gosh!
It was so refreshing.
There's serious blushing happening right now.
For real. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
Thank you. The version of myself that is working on internalizing a compliment is struggling right now. The other version says, let's diffuse that with humor. Okay.
I understand.
So this feels like a great moment to segue to the rapid fire.
All right.
All right.
I love rapid fire.
Right. Rapid fire.
So basically, just first peace of mind. What are the first things that come? Give 3 to 5 seconds. I'm still laughing about that. That was very sweet. The first thing that come to mind as we just asked, like, either or, what is your favorite? What is, just go for it. There's no wrong answer.
Okay.
We're gonna switch back and forth between Amer and I. Amer, why don't you take it away?
Wait, Neal, move the thing. You're on Miro. Are you a Miro? Yeah, move this text box so I can read the list. Hold on. You see there's overlapping text boxes.
We might be cheating a little bit.
No.
These aren't totally.
Wait. No, that's okay. There's a copy paste issue here. Wait a minute. Oh, there it is. All right, we're good. Got it.
Okay.
Okay. I'm starting, right?
Pose.
I'm starting.
You're funny.
Ready? I'm starting. Ready?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's too hard. A Revolutionary Road.
Favorite song?
Oh my gosh. That's too hard also. My favorite song? Oh, Part of Your World, Little Mermaid.
Wow. Favorite foreign word?
What? Okay, Jada Jeff. It's in where was I? In Dakar, Senegal. That's how you say or Nangadev, Jada Jeff. I just remember it was just beautiful. That's all I can say. I can't speak no more.
Favorite fruit?
Oh, that's tough, man. Oh, I'm gonna go with apple, man. Apples, you can't go wrong.
It's a big apple
Classic.
right there.
I have a feeling I'm going to know the answer to this, but East or West Coast?
East. Definitely East.
Kanye or Jay-Z?
Oh, Lord. That's hard. I'm going to go with Jay. Kanye's problematic, but Kanye.
Okay.
All right, pancakes or waffles?
Waffles.
Wow, she didn't even hesitate on that
All
one.
day.
When are your golden hours? When are you most productive?
Like 2 to 5 p.m.
Okay.
Was that a rapid fire question?
It was.
It was. That's cool. Threw me on a curveball. And to bring it home, chocolate or vanilla?
Ooh. Oh, that's so hard. Chocolate.
Chocolate. I want to throw one other question in there.
I like that, Neal. Yeah, go ahead.
Which might have just what's the last thing you do before you go to bed? Before you go to sleep, before you end your day?
I put on some sounds. Oh wait, no, like not before I fall asleep, but before was it? Go ahead, ask me again. You have
This is rapid fire. What's the last thing you do at the end of your day?
The last thing I do then is that I watch Netflix. That's the last thing I do at the end of my day. Yeah, me and my husband, we gonna watch something.
And the compliment to that is, what is the first thing you do when you wake up? Or like, how do you start your day?
30 minutes of exercise for my mentals and everything.
Well, there's no question about it. My brain has just gotten a lot of incredible exercise in the time speaking with you. I feel like my mentality, my essence, my being has just transformed. I think I've just made a quantum leap, a quantum jump in the process.
We all have.
Dude, yes.
Why not?
I love it.
So
real, seriously, thank you so much, Shelah.
No, thank you.
Thank
This
you
was
so
really, really nice. I cannot wait till whenever this uploads, and just please let me know because I want to share. I love having a good time.
Amazing. So we're going to say thank you so much, Shelah, for joining us, for being part of Leave Looking Up, and giving a little bit of your time and energy and mentality to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. The feeling is mutual. Thank you so much.
Great.
And let's get that soundbite.
Let's get that. Just having a good time.